Welcome back. Today, in fact, there's a massive debate on about the existence of the Ram Temple all over again because several artifacts, several things, several sculptures have been found from the spot where the Ram Mandir stood. A 5-foot shivling, statues, deities, all relics that seem to be from a Hindu temple. They have been uncovered while that spot was being leveled. The soil at that spot was being leveled. Remember, 2 separate excavations in this site in the past also have concluded that there was clear evidence of a massive structure that stood below the masjid. But unfortunately, even under the weight of all these facts, there are several people who continue to raise questions on the veracity of a historical finding. Let me go across now to our panel. We've got Shantanu Gupta and Shantanu Gupta, author, and Shadab Chauhan, national spokesperson of the Peace Party. Shadab Chauhan, do you think once and for all this will establish that yes, a temple existed at the spot?
Kalash and something else, pillar of the mandir.
Whole nation knows that VHP, Bajrang Dal and BJP are the responsible for demolition of Babri Masjid, and the nation knows well there is no evidence of demolition of mandir as stated by Supreme Court of India. That's why
Sir, I'm asking you,
verdict of Supreme Court is infallible.
So okay, so let me tell you 2 things. First of all, I don't know what you mean by the nation knows, because the nation is still waiting for the CBI court to finish its hearing and bring out a verdict. That hasn't come unless you are that special court and you are hearing the case and you've already decided the case. I don't know how the nation knows that. That being said, just a second. My simple question to you was, here is somebody holding a kalash. There's a pillar with that particular statue there. Does it not point to the existence of a temple?
How we can believe Champat Rai and these kind of people who demolished the secularism and pluralism and diversity of the country in 1992? How we can believe? Only ASI and when an inquiry has been done, then
I will think twice.
Shantanu Gupta.
Buddha temple or masjid structure.
Okay, you don't believe Champat Rai, but do you believe what you can see with your own eyes? Shantanu Gupta.
I think Padmaja ji, I have come on your channel on Ram Mandir debate multiple times. People like Ashok Singhal.
Just a second, can we please have silence? Shantanu Gupta speak. Go on.
Yeah. People like Ashok Singhal ji, people like Champat Rai ji have given their whole life for this nation. So at least let's take the names with respect. I think this person doesn't even know what Champat Rai represents, right? He's a body of knowledge. He's a walking encyclopedia of Indian culture himself. Supreme Court has already ratified that there was a temple. Yeah, he's right. The temple was demolished. That was not established by the court. But there was a temple, and Bibi Lal, KK Mohammad's excavation before by ASI has already proven that X number of pillars, terracotta, and now shivlings, now so many statues are coming, which is further fortified the same point. So I think there is no need of confusion. This is the leveling of the field which is happening, and finally, once the lockdown is completely over, we'll have a beautiful, huge temple in next couple of years.
Will there be at least an acceptance?
One thing
I think who cares for that? Who cares for the acceptance?
बहुत शालीनता से एक बात कहूंगा मैं कि देश के ऊपर एक कलंक था बाबरी मस्जिद की शहादत, और इतिहास में ये तो नहीं मालूम कि मंदिर गिराया गया, लेकिन देश ये याद रखेगा कि मस्जिद को
एक सेकंड, can I please lower your audio? Sir, just a second. Mr. Peace Party, this is not your पीस पार्टी का फंक्शन ना. यू कांट कम हियर एंड गिव भाषण की क्या होगा, देश क्या याद रखेगा. जब आएगा कोर्ट का फैसला तो देश उसको याद रख लेगा. आई एम आस्किंग यू जस्ट अ सेकंड, शांतनु गुप्ता, मिस्टर चौहान, द सिंपल थिंग इज यू सेज देयर इज नो प्रूफ इतिहास में कि यहाँ मंदिर था कि नहीं. मैं कह रही हूँ कि फिर वहां से अगर शिवलिंग निकल रहा है तो क्या उसी इतिहास का प्रूफ नहीं है जो आप मांग रहे हैं चौहान साहब?
There is no proof that shivling anyone get from there. There are many.
अरे भैया, शिवलिंग कहाँ, गार्डन में थोड़ी ना होगा.
Gautam Buddha, regarding Gautam Buddha, some of them saying this is such a belong to Babri Masjid because, and someone saying that there is a conspiracy created by VHP by putting the statues, by putting pillars, by putting shivlings. This is a conspiracy.
My God, this is getting ridiculous.
Okay, so I don't know, but whatever little I have studied of historical architecture, Shantanu Gupta, I don't know if a shivling and a kalash is found in a Buddhist temple. I've
Padmaja,
never read
Padmaja,
that.
Because Padmaja,
Shantanu
fortunately, I've read the Allahabad High Court verdict and Supreme Court verdict very well. I'll request everyone from your channel, go to the videos of Meenakshi Jain ji. She was a professor in DU, and go to her book. She has explained in detail. These pillars and structures are dated pre-Islam. They are dated. Are you able to appreciate that? They are dated pre-Islam. So VHP cannot plant a statue or a pillar which is dated pre-Islam. Can you imagine that? So let's stop this ridiculous talk now. These pillars and structures are found out.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the VHP want to plan this kind of statues, pillars to prove that there's an actual date of mandir. But it's not true.
Almost more than 80 pillars, more than 80 life-size pillars. Can you think they can be planted in daylight? And
Well,
Mulayam Singh Yadav and
Shantanu Gupta, maybe you don't have any confidence in the abilities of the VHP. Shadab Chauhan is an ardent admirer. उनमें अलौकिक शक्ति है VHP में.
Can you imagine, Padmaja, in a huge trust, these pillars are going, and when Mayawati and Mulayam Singh were ruling, this excavation was happening then, and these were planted inside. This is not even sounding a joke. Like this is like some Harry Potter story he's talking about.
No, but on a serious note, he's saying that this could be anything. This could be a temple. Doesn't need to be a Ram temple.
I'm saying so because if Ram Mandir can build on the place of Babri Masjid, then anything can happen. हम याद रखेंगे शहादत बाबरी मस्जिद.
Okay, that is making no sense. I think all of the sarcasm aside, I want you to listen to Mr. KK Mohammed, who was in fact a part of the ASI team, who has been a member of the Archaeological Survey of India and has spoken extensively about the Ram Mandir. Let's listen to what he says about these findings.
Actually, I had earlier also suggested that it should not be leveled by contractors and other people. It should be properly excavated in order to establish the stratigraphy of the entire place. So, by looking at the photographs and other things, it seemed that it belongs to, the temple remains belongs to from 8th century up to 10th century. Earlier, on the basis of the excavation carried out by the Archaeological Survey of India, a temple of 10th century and another a very big temple of 12th century was excavated. But this goes below that one. So that means right from 8th century we had the constructions also, we had the temple remains also. So what we have to do is that it should be given to Archaeological Survey of India or State Department so that they should conduct the proper excavations and all the materials. I mean, you have to have an underground museum there. We should not go for any kind of construction immediately. We have to have a full program and have a very big museum, underground museum there by using all these materials which have been excavated by Archaeological Survey
Which
of India.
Shantanu Gupta is perhaps the most pertinent point that KK Mohammed has made, that an ASI team should do the excavation.
I think, yeah. So I had the good fortune to spend almost 2 hours with Mr. KK Mohammed ji recently in January in Jabalpur. We were in a Ramayana conference. And he discussed the same point even then in a close conversation, that this should not be done by some contractor. I'm sure whoever is managing it, the state government, the central government, they should take care of this point. In fact, I invite, like, Mr. KK Mohammed should be made in charge of that. And he's an amazing guy. He lives in Kerala currently. And yeah, I'm saying good that you brought him in. And yeah, he's a very, very resourceful guy on this topic, and he should be made in charge of the excavation.
And if
right.
and when that happens, Mr. Shadab Chauhan, you should possibly be there in the viewing gallery just to make sure that the VHP and KK Mohammed don't plant a couple of more pillars over there.
Those pillars.
Yeah, maybe, who knows?
No.
Maybe they'll get another couple of pillars and plant them.
Anything can be happen. और इसीलिए मैंने कहा आपको बहुत स्पष्टता के साथ मैंने बात कही कि जिस तरीके से पूरी थ्योरी क्रिएट की गई कि बाबर ने मंदिर गिराया, पहले तो 20
अरे चलिए अब आप वापस पूरा इतिहास में जाकर के करेंगे. Anyway, so like we said again and again, the limited point about the demolition of Babri Masjid, that is in court and that should be decided. In fact, even as we speak, those hearings are possibly going to restart through video conferencing. Let's not confuse those two issues. This, though, should be examined very, very closely. Thank you very much, both gentlemen, for having joined me. Taking a quick break. Welcome back. The big story from Maharashtra. What really is behind that massive confusion that is seen again and again in the city of Mumbai, especially when it comes to migrant laborers being sent back to their hometowns. Repeatedly, there have been at least 5 episodes over the last few days where migrants have been seen assembling at railway stations, outside railway stations in large numbers, almost creating a panic-like situation. This because they say that they have been misinformed about availability of trains ferrying them home. So who is responsible behind what can either be mismanagement or misinformation?
हेलो अनवर अहमद जी।
हाँ जी
जी सर, मैं काजल बोल रही हूँ टाइम्स नाउ न्यूज़ चैनल से।
बोलिए।
सर, अंजुमन बिहार करके जो एनजीओ है उसके आप प्रेसिडेंट है ना?
हाँ, प्रेसिडेंट हूँ।
सर, कल कुछ धारावी में कंफ्यूजन हो गया था। बहुत लोग हमको मिले, वो बोले कि उनको बोला गया था कि उनकी टिकट्स लगी हैं श्रमिक ट्रेन में, फिर नहीं मिली करके बहुत ज़्यादा जमावड़ा हो गया था। क्या हुआ क्या था सर कल?
एक्चुअली क्या होता है कि पुलिस चौकी ने अंजुमन को वो दिया है कि जितने भी लोग हैं उनका नाम और सब आधार नंबर के साथ में मुझे लिस्ट देने के लिए, क्योंकि चौकी में बहुत ज़्यादा जो लोग खड़े हो जाते हैं वहाँ भीड़ लगा देते हैं
जी।
तो वहाँ से हम लोगों ने क्या किया है अंजुमन से, तो हम लोगों ने जितने लोग हैं जितने मेरे पास में आए उनका लिस्ट बना करके उनका नाम, कॉन्टेक्ट नंबर प्लस जो सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत है वो सब चीज कर करके हम लोगों ने ऑलरेडी चौकी में फॉरवर्ड कर चुके हैं।
जी, हमको क्या बोला गया कि आपके यहाँ से बाकायदा सब लोगों को कॉल गए और इसीलिए वो लोग जमा हुए, और बाद में उनको पता चला कि उनका नंबर तो आज लगने ही वाला नहीं है।
नहीं ऐसा नहीं है। अभी देखिए क्या है, बहुत से 2 मरतबा ऐसा हुआ है कि जैसे हम लोग ने डिटेल्स दिया, उनको कॉल भी चला गया सारे लोगों को, कॉल जाने के बाद वो ट्रेन को कैंसिल कर दिया गया। समझ गया ना?
Sudesh Verma of the BJP is with us along with Ravi Srivastava. And you know, Mr. Srivastava, because you're from Mumbai, we've spoken to you again and again about this. I spoke to you earlier about what happened in Bandra. Then yesterday it's happened in Dharavi. It's happened in Bhiwandi. Once can be a mistake. Twice can be a coincidence. Thrice is just, there is really something wrong going on. What is going on there?
Islam committee, that president, he himself says that he had made the call because he got the confirmation from the railway. That
No. He got the confirmation, my friend, from the police.
And finally,
from the police. You are misquoting. No. The Anjuman committee president said, I got the call from the police saying, please arrange for buses. Please don't misquote. Now tell me. First of all, what is the Anjuman committee doing arranging for buses? This is to be done by the state government, right? Why is the state government outsourcing its responsibility?
Padmaja, everywhere and every city, the NGOs are utilized, NGO support for many services. It's not only arranging the buses,
sir, which is fine. But outsource. Okay, first of all, let's be clear on the SOP. Sudesh Verma, what is the SOP? Can
NGOs are not culprits.
Can NGOs come in and do the work of the government? If somebody was to be injured in those buses, who's to be held responsible?
If the police has wound up this person, it means police has a trust in him. The police recognizes that particular NGO. Then only he must have phoned him up. Do you think that they will phone up any Tom, Dick and Harry? If the person is authorized, the person is
well, considering that the mess that actually happened, it turns out that that trust was misplaced. Okay, silence please. Exactly my question. You see the outcome. The outcome is this absolute confusion. So clearly that trust was misplaced. But Sudesh Verma, what's the SOP?
Padmaja, it seems that the state government has completely abdicated its responsibility, thinking that the central government will do everything. That is why we have decided now a new SOP is in place. We don't need permission of the state to fly the special trains. Now 400 trains will run on a daily basis. It will go, but for the state government, they should bring the migrant workers to the railway station. How they do so is their SOP, because they want to employ NGOs, they want to get good governance of lines and all that through police system. It's for them to decide. But now things will be much easier because
Mr. Srivastava,
there will be no problems of trains.
You know, we've seen this in April and we've seen it 4 times in May. Why?
Mr. Sudesh Verma, you should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of transferring the responsibility of the center It is center's
Arey, Sirji,
responsibility
understand
to
the simple
transport
fact that
each
law
and
and order
every
is the
migrant
prerogative
labor
of the
to
state
his
government.
destination.
We want the
It is
center
a
to take
fact
over
because he is
law and
a
order from
citizen
the
of
state
India.
to manage
You
this
the
migration.
people,
Tell me that.
You divide everybody.
We want the central
but
government
that is
to
your
advocate that.
responsibility. And
Ask
your
Uddhav
work.
Thackeray will
And your
set
Yogi
things ready
Adityanath,
24
who
hours.
is a mentally bankrupt
Can't even do the
person,
simple thing
returned
that organized
800
laborers bring
buses
into
from UP
railway
border
station,
today
maintain
itself.
social
You should be ashamed
social
of this
distancing
kind of a
norms
chief
and
minister.
put them in the
I
trains.
think he is
The
a
trains will be there to
bus
take them to
is
Uttar
not
Pradesh or
required.
Bihar
Okay.
or to any other
Again, just a second. Gentlemen, give me 2 seconds. No. Mr. Srivastava, other than the very dramatic, you should be ashamed of yourself. Can I please have Mr. Srivastava muted? Just a second. You want a response? I'm giving you a response. Other than the drama, the fact is that the Union Home Secretary has very clearly written to the states that they will be in charge of the safekeeping of the migrants. So the states are supposed to take care of this. So this whole thing about, you are offloading your responsibility to the states, of course not. The states are responsible for people who are within their boundaries, and they have been reminded of that by the Union Home Secretary. Now the point is, how is it possible? Do you know why people collected in Bhiwandi today? Because apparently, Mr. Srivastava, there was a rumor that Salman Khan wahan khana baantne aa raha hai. And thousands of people gathered. Where was the police?
Subscribe to that, madam.
Why was that allowed?
If your rumors are spread by the miscreants, please get them caught and get them punished as well. I would say that.
Sir, why are these rumors allowed to be? Then people should be arrested for spreading rumors.
By my friend's party, Mr. Sudesh Verma. These people do it.
Ravi, you are
this
wrong.
kind of miscreants, they belong to his party
police
only.
have to take
They
care
do
of
it
the queue.
to deliberately put the people, the migrant labor who are already suffering, to put them to further misery.
The Maharashtra government.
Okay, so in case Sudesh Verma's party is responsible for spreading these rumors, which by the way are extremely dangerous because they have resulted in overcrowding, they have resulted in an almost lathi charge like situation, then in that case, Mr. Srivastava, why aren't those people arrested? I am telling you that this has happened over the last 5 days. Not a single person has been arrested. Why? Again and again and again, it happened in Palghar, it happened in Kandivali, it happened in Bhiwandi, it happened in Dharavi, and it happened in Bandra. How?
They will be arrested.
When?
Don't worry. Right now, your focus should be on fighting the disease.
My focus is on fighting. You don't worry about my focus, sir. I'm very, very focused.
That is more worrisome for Maharashtra, where thousands
I'm
of
telling you,
cases
if you
are
have
appearing
any
every
with
day.
the Congress,
I think
please
that's
advise
more
them
important.
to bring the migrant laborers to the railway station, put them in the trains. The trains are there. Enough numbers.
Okay, it's very easy to sit and
don't
pontificate,
worry.
sir, about what people's focus should be. The point is that such gatherings are a massive threat to people's health, and which is why government should answer for it. More news coming in right now. The DGCA has released fare brackets for all sectors. Minimum fare is 2,000. That's the minimum fare that has been kept for all sectors. Let's get more details of that rate list from Madhav. Yes, Madhav.
Well, yes, in fact, as we were discussing earlier, Padmaja, today the Civil Aviation Minister announced at least 7 sectors, starting from, under 40-minute flights to 40 to 60, 60 to 90, 90 to 120, 120 to 150, 150 to 180 minutes, and, 3 hours to 3.5 hours. That was the final sector. Now we have the fare buckets. Now, the sector that he had, for instance, given as an example during the press conference was the Delhi-Mumbai sector, and that clearly falls under the sector D, because you have a minimum fare of 3,500, you have a maximum fare of 10,000. But what was very interesting is that he had mentioned that in this particular sector, you would have 40% of the seats being sold for less than the midpoint, which is 6,700 rupees in this particular sector D. So similar midpoints can now be calculated, where at least 40% of the seats would have to compulsorily be sold at. So you have a minimum fare of 2,000 rupees, you have a maximum fare of 18,600 rupees, but the bands are very clear. So if it's under a 40-minute flight, you will have a fare of only 2,000 to 6,000 maximum that can be charged by airlines. There will be no concept of predatory pricing. The government has announced that at least for the period of the next 3 months, this will remain as far as the sectors are concerned. And therefore, clearly the DGCA order being accessed here on Times Now. The first, we're telling our viewers that these are the price bands that now one can expect over the next, 3 months. So let's quickly look at what the circular says. It says that the above is issued in exercise of the powers conferred subsection 1 of section 8B read with clause AB of section 2 of section 5 of the Aircraft Act 1935. And just get into the details over here, where it says that the central government has decided to recommence the flights. It's necessary to ensure that airlines don't charge excessive fare on the one hand, and also ensure that journey is performed only for essential purposes. It's therefore necessary to fix a fare band within which the airlines should charge fare. Therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred so-and-so, which I just read a short while earlier, it has said that the charges will only be on particular sectors on this basis, which has been given. I've just shown you all that, and has very clearly said that these are exclusive of applicable UDF, PSF and GST. Remember, so this is for the user development fee of the passenger charge, and the GST will be over and above these particular fare brackets. So that's important to remember. Padmaja.
All right. Also, can you just focus on that table for a bit, because there are 7 of these sectors that are on that table. Can you tell us what are these sectors and how is it decided from A to F?
Well, as I was just telling you, so the sector A is those flights that are under 40 minutes of duration. So flights that will last less than 40 minutes will come under section A, and they will have a fare of 2,000 to 6,000 rupees. Remember, 6,000 is the maximum. Airlines can also charge less than that, but they have to ensure that the 50% mark, which would be 4,000 rupees in this particular case, that at least 40% of the flights are sold for less than 4,000 rupees. They can charge less than 4,000 if they want to, and they can sell 60% of them above 4,000, but not beyond 6,000 rupees. Now, this is, of course, exclusive of the user fees. Then we go on to section B, which is 40 to 60 minutes of flying duration. There is 2,500 to 7,500. Section C, sector C, is those sectors which are 1 hour and 1.5 hours. Then we go on to sector D, which is 1.5 to 2 hours. Section E is 2 to 2.5. Section F is 2.5 to 3, and G is 3 to 3.5, which covers the entire aviation space within India, because we only have flights currently that last up to 3.5 hours. So across those sectors, this will be the minimum and the maximum fare that will be charged. Padmaja.
Okay, very, very interesting. So you've got 7 categories there, and in each category, the minimum and the maximum ticket price has been specified very clearly by the government. Let's see what happens on Monday. Thanks very much, Madhav, for having joined us. Quick break, more on the other side.